What is going on, you guys? My name is Cody Thixton, and this is Interesting Podcast. Coming to you guys on April 6, 2023 for episode 42, where today we have some more WWE news. Vincent Kennedy McMahon comments on the merger of UFC and WWE, and also discusses his involvement with creative. The reason why the Raw after Mania was one of the worst ever, and the WWE's new owner is aware of fans' frustrations with Vincent Kennedy McMahon over his creative decisions. We're going to break down everything and then discuss it all right here, right now, on Interesting Podcast. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I upload content. Make sure to go and follow me on social media at CodyT503. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Let's get right into this. Now, as you guys know, this is always being brought to you guys by the Spotlight News. Vince McMahon comments on WWE and UFC merger involvement with creative. This is what the Spotlight News had to say, and I quote, "Earlier this month, Vince McMahon came back to WWE following his retirement last July. McMahon made it clear that he wanted to sell the company to maximize shareholders' value. Today, the McMahon family business World Wrestling Entertainment was acquired by Endeavor Group Holdings, Inc. The Endeavor Group announced that they formed a new publicly traded company with WWE and UFC. The Endeavor valued WWE at $9.3 billion and owned 51% of the new company. The executive chairman of the company, Vince McMahon, issued the following statement regarding the sale. This is what Vince McMahon had to say, and I quote, "Given the incredible work that Ari and Endeavor have done to grow the UFC brand, nearly doubling its revenue over the past 7 years, and the immense success we've already had in partnering with their team on a number of ventures, I believe that this is without a doubt the best outcome for our shareholders and other stakeholders. Together we will be a 21+ billion live sports and entertainment powerhouse with a collective fan base of more than 1 billion people and an exciting growth opportunity. The company will be well positioned to maximize the values of our combined media rights, enhance sponsorship monetization, develop new forms of content, and pursue other strategic mergers and acquisitions to further bolster our strong stable of brands. I, along with the current WWE management team, look forward to working closely with Ari and the Endeavor and UFC teams to take the business to the next level." End quote. McMahon issued the following announcement to World Wrestling Entertainment employees. This is what Vince McMahon said, and I quote, "I'm excited to announce that WWE has entered into a partnership with Endeavor to create a one-of-a-kind company that will bring two global sports and entertainment powerhouses, WWE and UFC. The historical alliances of these two formidable institutions has the potential to unlock vast growth opportunities for both organizations and generate an optimum outcome for our employees, shareholders, fans, and other stakeholders. We are huge admirers of the work Endeavor has done to grow the UFC brand, and they will be the perfect partner to help supercharge our growth at WWE." End quote. In an interview with CNBC, Vince McMahon was asked whether he would be involved in the creative team like in the past. McMahon said the following, and I quote, "Yes and no. On a higher level, yes. In the weeds, no. Can't do that." End quote. That is what the Spotlight News had to say on the merger of WWE and UFC. Now, this is actually something I've been thinking about since this news has actually broken. This is like really insane to even try and fathom that UFC and WWE are now in bed together. You know, just like it said in the report, they're going to come up with essentially a company that isn't going to be UFC and isn't going to be WWE, but is going to be almost combining both of them together. So I don't know like what the hell that is going to look like. I don't know exactly what Vince McMahon's plans are. I hope that he isn't in creative like he just said in the report, that in the higher ends of it, he will be involved. But as far as going through the weeds and being there on a weekly basis, I hope that he doesn't come back. And I could just I understand why people are kind of freaking out, because on Twitter, everybody is just freaking out over the fact that Vince McMahon is now back in WWE and the sale has officially gone through. But only thing people are worried about is if we're going to get the bad creative decisions that Vince McMahon has just always left with us. And I think it's left such a bad taste in people's mouths that they don't want to see anything WWE creative by Vince McMahon. Not good. I mean, this is actually perfect as to our next story. The reason why the Raw after WrestleMania was the worst ever. The worst Raw after WrestleMania. It was horrendous. But this is what the Spotlight News had to say. Yesterday, Endeavor Group Holdings announced that they have formed a new company with World Wrestling Entertainment and Ultimate Fighting Championship. Vince McMahon, the CEO of Endeavor Group, Ariel Emanuel, appeared in a CNBC exclusive interview yesterday, where McMahon said that he won't be involved in the creative team much, but will be involved in the making of big decisions. However, it appears that Vince McMahon lied during the interview. Not really surprised there. PW Insider reported that Vince McMahon was heavily involved with last night's Raw. The creative team has been ordered to rewrite the segments before the show goes on air. PWInsider.com is told that about 15 to 20 minutes before Raw went live on the air, a number of late rewrites for the episode were ordered, described as not feeling like the type of changes talents and staff have come to expect under Paul Levesque. Changes for the episode continued at the show well into the being on the air, and we were told that they came directly from McMahon, who had his own office at Raw, which as he did before his retirement in the summer of 2022. WrestleVotes also confirmed that McMahon's involvement in last night's Raw. I'm hearing that for the first time in months. Tonight's show was a large Vince McMahon feel and presence to it. Big weekend for the boss continues. You see, that is exactly what we don't need. We don't need Vince McMahon coming back and running a Monday Night Raw or a Friday Night SmackDown or really anything that is going to impact the shows. Vince McMahon should not have any say. I know, he is, he was the majority shareholder there for a really, really long time. But us fans, we are now conditioned to exactly what Triple H wanted to bring to the table when it came to WWE. And it's actually crazy that, everybody now knows that Vince McMahon is back. And it was just reported that, this past Monday Night Raw's show was heavily involved by Vince McMahon, and the fans could feel it. And it was actually crazy because on Monday night and Tuesday on Twitter, everybody was talking about how this was the worst Monday Night Raw of all time, and it was the worst WrestleMania or Raw after WrestleMania of all time. And it was one of the first times that the IWC actually came together and actually agreed on something. And that we all saw that, Vince McMahon is back and we are feeling it now. It's so funny that of everything that we fight about on, online in the IWC and how much we banter back and forth, when it comes to Vince McMahon, everybody's on the same level. It's so funny. Well, I actually got a message from my co-host Antonio, and he wanted me to read off to you guys his thoughts just based off of the huge news of WWE and UFC merging together. And so this is what Antonio had to say, and I quote, "In 1982, Vincent Kennedy McMahon purchased WWF from his father, Vincent J. McMahon, for $1 million. In 2001, he bought WCW for $2 million, literal pennies on the dollar of what the company was worth. And in 2003, he acquired the assets of ECW. Last year, Vince McMahon retired from WWE and stepped down as chairman. This year, Mr. McMahon came back, and not too much long after that, and too much speculation. It was because he could oversee the sale of WWE. The sale to Endeavor, which is the parent company of UFC, purchased WWE for $9.3 billion. Endeavor holds 51% of WWE, and it sounds like the shareholders own the other 49%. Remember, it's a publicly traded company. With the UFC and WWE combining under Endeavor, it creates a $21 billion sports entertainment powerhouse. He says, I do feel a little worried that we may be losing WWE as we know it, but on Monday Night Raw, Triple H said that we aren't going anywhere, and I hope that they don't. Then now, forever, together. And then he said that he is excited for Friday Night SmackDown tomorrow, and I am really excited for Friday Night SmackDown tomorrow. It should be really interesting to see what they do. But that is what Antonio and his thoughts, or some of his thoughts, on the merger of WWE and UFC. Now, to continue on with this, because this has been the most news, this week, especially like coming out of WrestleMania. We're still now we have to build up some storylines. That's why, we haven't been able to go and, talk about a whole lot of news recently. It's just because there's not a whole lot of news going into WrestleMania, and then you have to give it a little bit of time after WrestleMania to really build up some steam before we actually get some really good news to come on here and discuss about. But the Spotlight News has to say that the WWE's new owner is aware of fans' frustrations with Vince McMahon's bad creative decisions. This is what they had to say, and I quote, "This week's Monday Night Raw took place from the Crypto Arena in Los Angeles, California. Typically, Raw after WrestleMania would be the best show in the entire year. However, this year's show was the worst ever due to one person. PW Insider reported that Vince McMahon was heavily involved in this week's Monday Night Raw. McMahon has changed the script several times, including in the middle of the live broadcast." That's a little bit ridiculous. I'll get back to this in a second. That's a little bit ridiculous. Changing things as the show is going on. No wonder it feels like everything is just rushed, because it is. Everybody's rushing around to try and figure out what exactly they're supposed to be doing that night. Should be a little bit more structured, It continues on to say, Bayley was removed from Damage Control's entrance as a last-minute decision. Seth Rollins' segment was also cut while he was in the ring. A segment with Bad Bunny, Rey Mysterio, and LWO was also canceled at the last minute and replaced with Bunny getting chokeslammed through the announce table by Damian Priest. Vince McMahon's habit of changing plans with nonsense booking decisions angered a lot of fans. Therefore, large numbers of fans expressed their frustration on social media. #FireVince and #FireVinceMcMahon trending on Twitter for the past 2 days. Fans who attended last night's WWE NXT reportedly started chanting, "Fire Vince McMahon." A fan who attended the show confirmed that the chants came from his section. Ringside News reported that the new owner, Endeavor, is aware of the fans' criticism. They have this to say, and I quote, "We reached out about the new #FireVince trend. A tenured source in WWE told us that the new powers that be are aware of the scandal. They're aware of all the criticism of Vince McMahon's rewritten scripts and anything else you could think of." End quote. So that's what they had to say, the Spotlight News, on the new owner being aware of fans' frustrations. And this is not going to go away. This is not going to be something where us as fans, we have now this expectation. So once, we are not going to allow this to continue. If we are sitting there and we are chanting "Fire Vince McMahon" or "Fire Vince is trending" on Twitter, UFC, they have to absolutely know that that's a very, very bad look, especially given the fact that the company was just purchased, and then, boom, instantly, people are just blasting them. It's like, he's going to have to do something. He's going to have to, like, talk to Vince McMahon about him not having so much of a say. And hopefully, if the new owner of UFC is really, really smart, we would actually get Triple H still being head of creative, because over the past year, WWE has been booming as far as popularity and intrigue, and everybody was so excited for WrestleMania. And then for us to get this news and for us to get the Raw after WrestleMania like we got, it's going to be a uphill battle from here as to how Vince McMahon and how his influence in the new company is going to affect WWE television. You know, just like Antonio was saying, like, I believe that a lot of fans were just worried about losing what we love. You know, we don't want to have a show where it just feels like there's no importance to it, because if there's no importance to them, then there's going to be no importance to us as a fan. You know, and so it's going to be really freaking interesting to see exactly how this all plays out, and just how much Vince McMahon's involved, or just how far, you know, fans are going to go just to make it a point that we do not want Vince McMahon in any way, shape, or form a part of WWE. But that is all the news that we had here today on April 6th, 2023, and this was episode 42 of Interesting Podcast. I will actually be live this Saturday with my co-host Antonio, and tomorrow night me and Antonio are actually going and seeing Friday Night SmackDown at the Moda Center in Portland, Oregon. So I'm really freaking excited. I want to see just how much the show is impacted, or if we get Triple H running Friday Night SmackDown and Vince McMahon running Monday Night Raw. Should be really interesting. But I will have some really, really cool footage from our trip to Friday Night SmackDown coming over the weekend, so look out for that. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I upload content. Make sure to go and follow me on social media at CodyT503. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And again, I will be back live this Saturday with my co-host Antonio. I hope you guys have a good weekend.